Here's the question from the timing perspective that at least I'm thinking about. Maybe I'm wrong about this. So we have April 2nd coming, yes. And I don't know where. And if, by the way, if you're a negotiator in chief and you want leverage over people, the truth is you might actually continue that process for a longer period of time. Okay. Then you're going to hit the summer, and we're going to have a big conversation in America about taxes and our budget. That will go through the end of this year.
Yes.
Okay. Again, more uncertainty because
I think that'll be done. No, he wants a bill on his desk by the end of May. The reconciliation package, whether or not it gets there is a question. It could fade into June or July, but I don't think it's going to be the end of the year.
So when do you think that's all going to get resolved?
Well, I think we're going to...
Tax story in America.
My sense is that you got to take it as it comes. Price, the market's going to adjust along the way. But if you think there's a clearing event thus far, I don't see any clearing event, right? We're still in the land of the ambiguous. Every day, everybody's waking up in the morning to see what was said overnight. I think April 2nd will provide a little bit more clarity. I'm hopeful that May will give us what we need. I hope that's the clearing event. I hope we know at that point in time what reconciliation is.
April showers bring May flowers.
Exactly. But listen, the fact that everybody is operating on that framework probably tells me that's not how it's going to work, Joe. Yeah. To your point about the market gets ahead of these things, it discounts it faster. And so a lot of this has gotten discounted in very quickly. I said on that podcast with my partner, Bill Gurley, BG2, in early February, I said, my only surprise on February 4th was that the markets hadn't reacted because they had said the words. Right? They had said the words very clearly.
People didn't believe them.
Right,
because everybody thought that Trump cared more about the stock market than he appears to care.
Exactly.
But then there's another question talking about the stock market, which is he may not care about it today, but as you get closer to the midterms, I imagine he's just going to care. Maybe he's not going to care. You tell me.
He cares about Congress, but he doesn't care about each person that as much as he cares about it.
Well, listen, I honestly believe. And I was.
And this goes to when does he have to get all this resolved? Because
he'd like to
set things
houses, but I don't
start to work in the right way. If you believe the midterm,
he is not getting up every morning watching CNBC and adjusting policy based upon whether the futures are up or down that morning. I know there is a conventional wisdom that that's the case. I think this president went through a life-changing moment in Butler, Pennsylvania, and I think he wants this term to be of consequence. I think he has beliefs that go back 30 or 40 years. I had a CEO of a major company send me a video of the president from 2016 talking about tariffs. And he said, what's your reflection on this? I said, the man has been remarkably consistent for 30 years on this issue.
Can I ask you, so we talk taxes. So 2017 becomes permanent. What's that, $4 trillion? Something like that. You do the other tax cuts. I don't know how many of those actually go through the tips and Social Security
over time. $3 trillion for just about every one of them.
We're already on track for another $2 trillion deficit this year. Before any of that this year, he says he won't touch entitlements. DOGE isn't going to take care of $37 trillion that we already have, and we're going to keep adding to it. What can he? I mean, that's a worse problem for me than tariffs long term.
Yeah, this president and his economic team, which is incredible, Kevin Hassett, Bessent, the Commerce Secretary Howard, he's got great advice around him, and they want to reduce the deficit during his term in office. Frankly, I think he would love to get. He said he would love to get to a balanced budget.
See how?
But I certainly think we'll get to 2% of GDP under his term. Here's how I think we get there. Most of the tax cuts are extensions, Joe. But I agree with you. Tax on tips, I think that's $80 billion. Taxes on overtime. You're not going to be able to do all of them at the scope, perhaps, that people are estimating.
But I don't think the CBOE has the extensions.
The CBO.
Sorry. Not the options exchange. I don't think the CBO has those tax cuts as permanent in the numbers. That adds how much? That's why they did it in 2017.
Correct. They're going to scale these to 7 to 10 years. But by the way,
they will.
In 7 to 10 years, these things are going to expire, and they're going to have to be reauthorized. And you just heard Ray Dalio say, 7 to 8% debt to GDP is unsustainable. Everybody knows that.
We can get to 2?
I think we can get to 2% under
growth.
And here's how we get there. I've tweeted about this. You can see the chart. Elon retweeted this chart. we were, if you just baseline 2019 federal spending, and in 2019, nobody on this set thought kids were starving in the streets or weren't being educated or we weren't spending enough as a federal government, right? We spent $4.5 trillion in 2019. Grow that at 3% a year. If you baseline that, we should be spending about $5.5 trillion this year. Instead, we spent $7 trillion last year. That is COVID stimulus. That is the Red Bull high that we all put ourselves on. So if you just went back to the 2019 baseline, you grew it to 2029, that's $6 trillion in spending, okay? I think we can get the federal revenues to $6 to $6.5 trillion by 2029 by just growing 2.5%. So I think there is a reasonable shot at getting close to balance at $6.5 trillion in 2029, but you're not going to get the entire wish list.
I'm feeling good.
We've had people who have come in and said the wish list is very expensive.
Yes.
President Trump says promises made, promises delivered. He plans on coming through with that, and that's why the tariffs are very important, because they see that as a form of revenue. Navarro has said that. Others have said that.
Yes,
and that is McKinley style.
But I was going to say, Besson said that the tariffs would not be included in whatever budget is going to be planned.
In the math that they go
through.
I
mean, ultimately, the revenue is the revenue, right? Like, of course, the revenue of the federal government is going to be included in the P&L of the federal government. So, the budget forecast may not include because they don't have visibility. Right, but ultimately it will be the revenue of the federal.
We asked the question very explicitly.
That's for this year passing.
But let's talk real quickly about tariff revenue. Last year, tariff revenue was $56 billion to the federal treasury. Okay, so the question is, where's it going, Becky? If you think we're going to $1 trillion and we're going to replace the income tax with the External Revenue Service, and we're going back to McKinley style where it was 90% of federal revenues, right? It would require a shock to the global economic system of massive proportions. I just don't think there's support for it among the business roundtable CEOs who are in Washington today. There's not support for it on Capitol Hill. But what there is support for is this president getting fairer trade deals with our partners and using this in this moment to get better deals.